I want to give you some brain candy, some fun stuff, and I want to give you the most important information. So, um, let's go into some brain candy stuff to begin with. Why would we even want to talk about human design? Human design is your energetic blueprints. It's your user manual of life. This is you when you're born. This is you when you leave this world. When we see this particular chart here, we get what is known as jargon, strategy, and authority. So when we're talking about strategy and authority, let's break it down to easier language. Your strategy and authority is your yes and no choice mechanism. This is how your body, your strategy, and your authority, how you say your yes and no. So it's pretty awesome because we then know that we're making correct choices for ourselves that are healthy for us, that are correct for us. And when we make correct choices for us, whether it was a yes or whether it was a no, and we followed that yes or we followed that no, if we do that, we are allowing our purpose to flow through us. So if we're going to talk about it, purpose, my mouse is super sensitive. Let's talk about your purpose. Your incarnation cross, Ellie, is the right angle cross of explanation 4, 49, 23, 43. Now, we're not going to be talking about that, but if you want to Google that, you can Google it later, but make sure you keep in the right angle and the numbers back here because it does matter. But the thing is, you don't need to know what your purpose in life is if you just allow your yes and no to flow through you. Every time you say yes, when your body says yes and you do it, you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. If your body said no and you did the no, like you didn't do it, you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. So we don't need to get our brain involved. We don't have to think, well, what next? I shoulda, woulda, coulda. What now? I actually want to go back one more step. Let's talk about human design again. So human design, it reminds us of who we are because we're born into a society, a gender, maybe a religion, a race. So we are conditioned to be of that, girl wears pink, boy wears blue, right? So conditioning factors, changing us to be something that we're not. And then we grow up, our authoritative figures, they expect us to act a certain way. When we go to school, the same thing. When we leave our house, we say we're free, but we still have to act in accordance to the TOS of life. So, we have to change ourselves for our bosses and whatever. There's also other instances where we change ourselves in our life when, traumatic things happen. We have these coping mechanisms to get us through the day. Or, oh, hey, that person over there is doing it better than me, so I'm going to change myself to be like that person over there. So, once again, this chart here is reminding us of who we are when we were born, before all of that conditioning, whether it be gender, societal, authoritative, or just us choosing to change ourselves because, maybe we humiliated ourselves and we vow never to do that again, even though we love doing that thing that got us humiliated. So human design, like I said, brings us back to who we are, and it allows us to understand our energy and allows us to make proper choices for who we are and our energy. So that's a little bit of the beginning introduction of what is human design. We could talk about human design and you for 18 days, like nonstop talking for real. But today, the most important thing that we're going through is understanding your yes and no. And I know it sounds like I'm trying to like really repeat that over and over and over, but it's that important. We're going to run over all of the words that are above my head up here. And then we're going to run through some of the brain candy things that we could see inside of your chart. But for now, let's start with the most important thing. We are going into the most important part, what matters. So we are switching gears here, and this is where a person should be listening because this is the most important part. And then we're going to shift gears after again and go back into the brain candy. All right, the most important part of your whole chart really is this sitting above my head in these words. It says your type, that you are a manifesting generator. So that means that you are here. You're not necessarily supposed to understand what manifesting generator is. It's just words. It's supposed to hit you at the DNA level. We're not supposed to understand it with our head, but you are a manifesting generator. And manifesting generators, they are here to respond. And you have okay. I told you that this was your choice mechanism, and I just want to address the elephant in the room, which is this word here, emotional, before I go into anything, because it really just trips people up and it confuses them and they just stare at that word. So let's talk about it. Strategy and authority. Remember, this is your yes and no. Doesn't matter if we start with your authority or strategy. You know, it's whatever I choose to talk about first. But this word emotional, just because we said the word emotional, it doesn't mean that you are emotionally all over the place. No. This little solar plexus, this is the solar plexus. And we can see here that you actually have a lot of fixedness in your emotions. You know quite well what your emotions are. So it's not that you're all over the place. No, it's just a word. It doesn't mean you're all over the place emotionally. So I just wanted to address this elephant in the room here, this word emotional. But I do want to hop back up to this first one here, and then we'll go down to the second one here. So strategy and authority. Once again, choice mechanism. This is how you say your yes and no. Once again, if you understand how to say your yes and no and you allow that to flow through you, you are allowing your purpose to flow through you as well. All right, like I said, you are a manifesting generator, which means that you are here to respond. So what does responding even mean? This is part one of a two-part choice mechanism for you. So you have two parts in order to make correct choices for you. Part one is you are here to respond. Now, I'm like you regarding this sense. I am here to respond as well, so I understand quite deeply what this means. 70% of the world are like you and I. We were gifted these guttural sounds of uh-huh and and you know, these sounds that are sometimes conditioned out of us as generators because we get a slap on the hand. Say your yes, say your no, because it's correct for society. So we are conditioned away from those guttural sounds that we were gifted with in order to better understand our energy. So I know that you were born into a different language, so I don't know how your language is for their yes and their no. But let's go back to the baby sounds that babies make. When a baby likes something, they're like, ooh. When a baby doesn't like something, they're like, eh. And that's what we're talking about, is those guttural sounds that lead us toward that understanding. So let me start to give you some examples of what it is to respond. It's not you asking yourself something in your head to your own body. No, that's not what we're talking about. Um, we're talking about external stimulation. So, your environment, a person, people, places, or things that will cue you to possibly have a response. So, hey, Ellie, do you want to go to the store? Simply like that. So, I know it's the reason why I started with that is because, yeah, there are internal cues, but it's not from your brain. Let's just say you're laying in bed and your eyes pop open. Well, why? Is it because your body's done being rested? Or is it because the internal cue from your bladder, oh my God, my bladder's gonna burst and I've just been procrastinating getting out of bed for hours, but now it's gonna burst. So, like, now I respond that I gotta do something. So, it's not necessarily like always these external cues. You're gonna have internal cues too, but it's your body telling you something. I'm hungry. I gotta go pee. Stuff like that. So let's talk about this response again. You're laying in bed, you're asleep, and your eyes pop open in response to what? Well, I respond to my bladder being super full and I may not make it to the bathroom. I I respond to then throwing off the covers and then sitting up in bed. Oh my gosh, I respond to the fact that it's starting to get chilly out because it's that time of year and my blankets were actually keeping me friggin' warm. So, well, I might be on the toilet a little bit longer than anticipated. So I'm gonna grab my house coat along the way. So I responded to it being cold, but so I grabbed my house coat before I sat down on the toilet. But you know what? My throat's a little bit dry. I responded to going uh, to the fridge to get myself a sip of water before I went to the washroom because I just woke up and I'm a mouth breather and my throat's super dry just from mouth breathing the whole night. So as you can see, these are just different responses that a person's moving through because of their body cues. It's not because my brain said, oh, I'm bored, I need stimulation, I'm going to eat food. No, it responded to something. Your body got clarity that, holy shit, you do have to go pee. You're gonna go. Um, so when we're talking about response, like I said, it could be someone externally asking you something. Hey, Ellie, do you want to play this game with me? Um, so what about all the things that you want to do in life? You know, all the things that you want to manifest in life. What happens then? Well, as a generator, I know exactly how I do it. I respond to a lot of shiny different things in life. Ooh, of course I want to do that. So I write it down on a list. Because then it's not me thinking about it, oh, I need to do it now, I need to do it now, I need to do it now. No, it's on a list. So then when I have energy to do something, I'm like, ooh, I respond to not sitting down anymore. I respond to doing something. So I pull out my 80 lists and I just go down the lists and I'm like, mm-mm, mm-mm. Sometimes I flip pages, like 5 pages, and I finally find something like, yep, that's the one that I'm going to do. So I trick, like I respond to something and then I write it down, and then it's not that it needs to be acted on immediately. So I write it down, and if I respond to it in the future, I do it. There's been things that I respond to, or I thought I wanted to do it. Like, for instance, creating a whole course for everything intuitive. I realized that no, that's not what I want to do. That's what I thought people wanted. So my to-do list for that everything psychic course, it's in my trash pile now. It's still available if I ever want to look at it. I'm looking at the book where all my lists are right now, but just because you responded to something now, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be something that you'll always respond to or even initiate. You know, I have things on my list that I've had on my list for 5 or 7 years, and it's going to stay there for much longer. And that's okay. It's okay that things aren't getting done when my brain thinks it needs to get done. I'm glad it's still on the to-do list. Otherwise, if it would have gotten done, it would have been a poor quality and improper timing. So I'm okay that they're still on my to-do list years and years later. So you're here to respond. You're here to respond to life. Here to respond. So oh. And if you don't know, then maybe it's the person didn't ask you the proper way, or maybe you just don't know right now. It's just not the proper timing, and I don't know just really isn't the answer, and that's okay. That's part one of your two-part choice mechanism to respond. I took a long time to explain it because it's very important. And or those baby sounds. Ooh, ah, eh. So that's the strategy. Let's talk about the authority, the solar plexus. Once again, just because it says emotional doesn't mean that you're emotionally all over the place. You do have a lot of fixedness in that emotional area, in that solar plexus area. Remember, it's just a word. The solar plexus, 50% of the world has this as their authority. 50% of the world are like this with you. I don't have this colored in. When it's colored in, we say that's defined. So anywheres in your chart that you see color, we call that definition. But I don't have definition here, right there in that brown triangle. You do. So when I am going through these examples, I'm only giving you examples based on what I've been taught or what other people have told me. So I'm learning from you guys what this center is all about. Emotional solar plexus, inner authority. What does that part two of your choice mechanism even mean? Well, for you, Ellie, this means that you need to wait to get clarity in order to make choices. So let's talk about that. What's clarity? So clarity means that you may not ever be 100% certain, and that's okay. But if you feel like you're 70% certain, damn, that's pretty certain, girl. And you should be making a decision. I'm going to be giving you different examples of what clarity could mean. So clarity could mean, as example number 2, maybe you have 12 different choices of things that you want to do. Which one of those 12 doors are the most clear? Which one do you have the most clarity on? That's the one that you should do. So example 3 from my Californian teacher. She used surfing as an example. You know, you want to catch that awesome wave coming in, so you go out, you're excited. So you go on the up wave, but the up wave was so big, the wave was so big that it actually bottomed out as it went down. And so did you, and you hit rock bottom. You probably wouldn't have jumped on that wave if you would have known that you would have smashed straight into the ground. You know, the up wave was pretty exciting, the down wave was not exciting. And that's what getting clarity is. It's like giving yourself enough time to make a decision to see if you would have emotionally have wanted to go through the up and the down of that experience emotionally. So when we're getting clarity, it means not to make a decision instantaneously. It's putting time between the original ask and the final answer. So when we're making a decision with clarity, this is my final example. We're making a decision made with no emotions attached. So if you're excited, bad time to make a decision. If you're frustrated, bad time to make a decision. Angry, not a good time. So it's understood from my point of view that making a decision with no feelings involved, like a neutral perspective, is a good time for you to make a decision. So let's go over an example. I know what you do for a job. You're an ASMR streamer. But let's use this example anyways, because a lot of people can relate to it. You have been wanting a job your whole life. You've practiced for it, you've waited for it, and you applied for the interview and you got a call back. You got offered the job. And they offer you the job. Of course you're freaking excited. Of course you want to say yes immediately. But I just told you that making decisions with emotions involved is not really a good time to make a decision. So you need to gain some clarity on, even though you know that this is the job of a lifetime that you've wanted, you got to gain clarity on what you've been offered. So what should happen is you say, "Hi, recruiters. Thank you. Just let me have the weekend to think about it. I'll let you know on Monday." So there's either two things that could happen. One, that brown triangle right there, that's juicy. People want that. You know, me who has it undefined, not colored in, I unconsciously know that people who have it, it's juicy, I want it, right? So people who offer you something and you say, "Hold on, wait, as I get clarity," the people in the background are saying, "Well, oh my God, I need that juicy energy. So what am I going to do to make it better?" Or the other one is the deal falls through. And you're like, "Well, that was just a deal of a lifetime, the job that I've been waiting my whole life, and it fell through. That doesn't seem like a good option." Well, let's talk about it. Would you have really wanted to have committed instantaneously to something or someone that would have told you over the weekend that we no longer need you, and you would have already told your job that you've given them their 2 weeks notice, and you've already started to plan everything? I think that the deal falling through while you waited to gain clarity is much better than you trying to readjust your whole life without you knowing that it was going to fall through anyway, or that it wasn't the proper opportunity for you. So if your opportunity falls through as you're waiting to gain your clarity, I mean, you have to do it in a reasonable time. Not for everything, but a lot of decisions in life need a reasonable timing. I forget where I was going with that. Yeah, you just need clarity over time from the original ask to the final answer. Is that right, Storm? So let's move these together. You are here to respond and gain clarity over your responses. So, you know, New World is coming out. And you're like, I'm going to play that. And over time, because, there was a release date, you gain clarity like, yo, yeah, I'm even going to stream it. So you did. So that is a response. I'm sure that as you do your streams, because there's not a lot of direct interaction, I'm sure that you sit there a lot and you gain clarity over the things that you want to gain clarity over. because you have a lot of time to, possibly. Or like you're just sitting there and something pops into your brain. I see you typing sometimes. So it's like, what did you respond to checking at that exact moment? What are you gaining clarity over? So that's pretty cool. Um, so you are here to respond uh-huh and uh-uh, and then gain clarity of the things that you respond to in life. So let's start this conversation back where we started. What is human design? Your yes and no choice mechanism, your strategy and authority. If you follow your strategy and authority, you allow your purpose to flow through you. If you say uh-huh and uh-uh and gain clarity with that, and you follow whatever your uh-huh and uh-uh was, you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. All right. We are going to cut it off right now. We're going to go over to some brain candy. You're a split definition. We can see that your energy here, without lifting up the pen, we can see that it all connects together. These three centers, they all connect together. And same with these centers over here. We can connect them all together. Kind of like this way here. So the thing is that this set of energy and this set of energy is not connected together. What I was saying about the planets moving by is that your energy, I want to say it twice, I want to say it and emphasize it twice. You are actually not an instantaneous person. So if you try to be a risky, instantaneous person, it might be detrimental to you. You are not instantaneous right here. Because remember, you need to wait to gain clarity. And then because you are a split definition, it's like this part of your energy needs time to talk to this part of the energy to see if they work together. So there's two different places immediately that you're not an instantaneous person. So if you try to be instantaneous, keep in mind that it may not work out for you, because sometimes you might want to commit. And then you leave the person's aura and you're like, why the fuck did I just commit to that? Let's go into some of the not self-talk that we might hear inside of your chart. Right here, we might find ourselves needing to prove, but there's nothing you have to prove, not even to yourself. Maybe you might find yourself going longer, harder, faster, stronger when nobody asked you to. Maybe you're going to be the person to pick up the shift and nobody said, hey, why don't you specifically do it? Maybe you might finding yourself needing to prove that you know exactly who you are. Remember, these are the not self expressions of these centers. And maybe you find yourself not knowing what to find interesting, or maybe you, when you didn't work for yourself and you worked for someone else, maybe you found yourself taking on other people's work. Like, oh, well, I wonder where my keys are. Well, that's not for you to solve. These are my keys and I lost them and I should find them. But you might find yourself, oh, well, I got to relieve the mental pressure, so I'm going to go find the keys for them. I'm going to finish their work for them because I have to prove that I'm a good colleague, I'm a good supporter. And remember, this is the not self-expression of this. And also, I do want to note that your heart center here, this tiny little triangle here, this is your heart center. This is your commitment center. I want to show you that you have absolutely no access to energy within the commitment center, the willpower center. So that makes it even more important for you to sit back, take a moment, and see if you actually want to commit to the thing that you're thinking about committing to. Have you responded uh-huh or uh-uh? The only way that you know that you are making the proper commitments for you in your life is if you've gained clarity on the things that you've responded to. And, you know, I'm sure that when you put your mind to it, because it's fully wide open there, when you put your mind to it, you got this. But, maybe you find yourself feeling like you're a committophobe, or people around you say, oh, you don't commit to things, or I have friends that have this wide open, and I make second plans when I make plans with them because they never show up. In my opinion, this is a place where people experiences the most amount of emotional pain in life. Because if a person's experiencing their not self here, then we're finding feelings of not being enough, feelings of not being loved, feelings of not being deserving of whatever it is. That's the not self expression of this center. So if you ever feel like you're not enough, not deserving, not loved, not, something of that caliber, this is where it sits. And just remember that it's only a not self expression. And it's just because you're not doing something for yourself in that particular moment. What aren't you doing for yourself? So you are loved, you are deserving, you are beautiful, and you are committed. And I like to say it this way, you are committed to the things that are right for you. Girl, you can do a 30-day stream. You say you can't commit to a relationship, but you sure as hell can commit to the things that you want to commit to, right? Here, the best thing that I like about this center is that it's a great compass. Ellie, you've been gifted with a compass. If you walk into a place and you're like, get the fuck out, because that means that you are not with the right people, you're not having the right experiences. So you're not in the right place, not in the right timing, not with the right people, not having the right opportunities. If your body says, maybe just changing your view to the other window might make it an I don't know. But if you walk into a place and you say, get out, it's not good for you. Because you have such individual energy, oh my God, people probably wish they had some of your energy. Because what's being pointed at right now is like, how do I even say that? Yeah, the channel of mutation. So, Ellie, wherever you are, there's new things happening. You are always seeing first, or you are always mutating things into being firsts. So, seeing first for you is nothing. You're used to it. But when people are in your presence, they're like, oh my God, Ellie, this is the first time you're just like, yeah, so. you know, you initiate new things. It is who you are. You are unique like that. And you have this mysterious knowing about you as well. You have this stuff that just comes out of nowhere. Where did that come from, Ellie? Well, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, came from out of the blue. But let's get right to it. And I'm so excited to call you this. I'm so excited to call you this because if you're going to okay, the person who brought this out to the world, if we're talking about spiritual gurus like Deepak, we're going to be talking about Dalai Lama. I think it was 92% of those unique individuals had this channel. And this is the channel of the freak. Yes. I resonate with that deeply. Yeah, I just called you a freak. That's right. People are just going to think you're freaking weird until they think you're a freaking genius. So, you are a freak until people think that you are a genius. And I resonate with that so deeply as an individual that I love calling other freaks. So you are unique, you are individual, and people see that. You are able to structure things together, tear it apart, structure it together. We're going to be talking about the stuff above my head again. I'm going to ask you, we can see that word not self-theme. Frustration. Ellie, I'm going to ask you, where in your life are you frustrated? In this system, frustration is a key indicator that something needs to change. So I'm going to ask you again, where are you frustrated in your life? What needs to change? I'm not telling you that something needs to start or stop, quit or start something. What needs to change to make it better? So I'm going to ask you, I'm not telling you to tell me an answer right now, but what makes you frustrated, and what clarity do you need to gain in order to change it? So, now that you know that all of the places where you're frustrated in life are places that need to change for you, places where you aren't doing you, places where you aren't honoring yourself. Now you know how to go about changing that frustration. You use your strategy and authority, your and your to move through that frustration. What needs to change? You'll see in the moment and you'll gain clarity. Now, we are going to talk about the profile. Your profile, that is like your costume on the stage of life. If you're going to be in a Broadway, your profile is your costume. Now, people don't resonate with their incarnation cross or their profile until they really start saying their yes and no. Like, I didn't resonate with mine at all. But let me tell you how it felt logically. When I wasn't resonating with my profile or my costume on the stage of life, I felt gross. I felt icky. I've always felt like I was beautiful, but I never truly deeply had love for myself. So if you are in your not self, if you are doing things that your body, your body said yes and you do the opposite, the not self expression within the profile can feel like this for me. It felt like I was a 6'4" person trying to squeeze into a 4-foot person's costume. That's not going to be comfortable at all. Sometimes people feel so uncomfortable in their own bodies, they don't feel like they belong on this planet Earth. And in my opinion, this is where it comes from. Do you feel like you fit in your costume? Your costume, let's describe it a little bit. Let's describe your costume, your profile a little bit. You're a person who is here to investigate things, to dig into things, to, gain that foundational basis to that pyramid. Unfortunately, though, for you, that it might always feel like the earth beneath your feet is quicksand. That's the only way that I've been explained what it feels like to be a part of your profile, is that, you're never going to externalize something unless you feel completely safe about it. So what's interesting about your profile as well is that you are here, Ellie, in two different ways. I'm pointing at it right here in your chart, the red hand pointing, and here in your profile, that you are here to break things apart, to break it down, structure it, to find a way to put it back together. You're a person to go through trial and error to understand what it's like to make things better or break it down. Now, the outsider looking into you, like maybe your authoritative figures, your parents, teachers, whatever, when you broke something, I'm sure they said, "What's wrong with you? Why did you break it?" But that is moving you away from your true self. You're meant to do those things. You're meant to be clumsy and break things. So what they should be saying to you, Ellie, is, "Oh, nice work. You found what was wrong with it. How do we go about fixing it together?" So there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with your investigating. Nothing wrong with you feeling insecure until you're ready to externalize. There's nothing wrong with you tearing shit apart, bringing it back together, breaking it again, and bringing it back together. It's who you are. And if anybody ever tries to make you feel bad about being a person who structures things, Without you, there would be no one else in the world, because we need resilient people like you to make this world foundational. Without people like you, structures would literally fall apart. The Leaning Tower of Pisa would be no longer leaning. It would be fallen over. So we need people like you to make the world a better place, because without you, this world would crumble apart. So if anybody ever tries to make you feel ashamed for being that clumsy or the person that tears things down, just think, yo, I'm doing you a favor. There's really only one last thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's actually, although you are a person that needs to wait to make decisions, you need to gain clarity. I told you about your split definition, other, your energies needing to talk to one another. I do want to tell you, and this is going to be confusing, that you do have access to instantaneous information, though. Let's talk about that. We can see here, your response is this red square here. You can see that you have a lot of definition coming off of that red square and actually leading over to here. And we have a lot of definition coming off of this as well. This is your instantaneous center. Now, you can respond instantaneously, like I told you, but you always need to gain clarity. Now, this is really important because I don't want you to get confused. You can't be an instantaneous person, but your instantaneous knowledge in the moment of your health and things that are healthy for you will help you and be guiding for you. So for instance, when I touch my lips, that's my body telling me instantaneously that I need to hydrate. That's just my cue, right? So sometimes our bodies give us cues or signals to help us keep us safe. And your body's not going to give you the cue again. And your brain would be like, well, body, if you tell me one more time, I'll do it or I'll not do it. It doesn't work that way. It's just like asking your heartbeat to beat that one that was 5 beats ago. You can't ask it to do that. It's not going to happen. So you can kind of see yourself like this. Hey, Ellie, do you want to go to the store? And you see yourself already up and moving towards the door before your brain even says, uh-huh. So that's what we're talking about, is that you have this instantaneous access to energy. I was just turning off my heat there. You have this instantaneous access to knowledge in the moment. So if you find yourself numbly or mindlessly headed somewheres and you don't know why, like you are headed towards getting a piece of paper to scribble on, but you find yourself picking up a salty peanut. I don't know, maybe your body needed a little bit of electrolytes in that particular moment. Let your body eat that one peanut and then keep on going towards the thing that you were supposed to go towards. So that's what we're talking about, is these instantaneous responses in the moment that you don't even, your mind's not even involved, but it's like something healthy for you. And try to start to pay attention to that. Remember, you're not instantaneous, but maybe your instantaneous cues can keep you healthier or safer. Like, for instance, let's just say that an opportunity was offered to you and you're like, eh. Like your body just walked 1 foot away from the opportunity instead of walking towards it. Those are bodily cues telling you in the moment what's healthy for you or not. Now, whether you act on it or not, you have to gain clarity. We do have a little bit more time, so I want to talk about some of the stuff that we find in your chart. So your shining light out into the world is pleasure. Ultimate pleasure cannot be achieved without perfect timing. So that's your shining light out into the world. And your other shining light out into the world is your individuality, independent expression that is not by its nature detrimental to others. So you being your independent self is not detrimental to others. Interestingly enough, my individuality must be detrimental to others because I don't got this in my chart. um, what's interesting is that I can show you some different things. This is what you see in life. This is the type of people you choose to keep around in life, like where you're going and where you're headed, what you choose to communicate, and you know, your values, the things that you believe in, and it's just very cool and very unique. Each expression here, this says 4.1, but it looks more like an IP address, like 4.3.2.4. And just like an IP address, it's very unique and very differentiating. And you have 26 IP addresses here. So that just shows you how unique you are. And, you know, it just shows you lessons in life. It tells you about your health. Because, for example, the gallbladder, the heart, the stomach, and one other thing is attached to this particular center. So we can just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And we could talk about it for days. And that's why I said that we could talk about it for days.